Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dear students, today we will discuss the disease, respiratory disease known as diphtheria. It is a bacterial disease and in Urdu it is known as khannak. In this lecture, first of all, we will discuss the problem statement of diphtheria, then what are its epidemiological determinants, what are the clinical features of diphtheria, how will you diagnose a case of diphtheria, and most importantly, what are the preventive and control measures of diphtheria disease. Diphtheria, Khannak, is an acute infectious disease which is caused by a bacteria, by toxigenic strains of Corynebacterium diphtheria. There are three major clinical types of diphtheria: anterior nasal, facial, and laryngeal. The bacilli elaborates a powerful exotoxin which is responsible for the formation of following four factors. First of all, the formation of a yellowish-grayish membrane which is commonly over the tonsils, pharynx, or larynx, and it got well-defined margins and the membrane cannot be wiped away. Second feature is there is marked congestion, edema, or local tissue destruction. The third point is enlargement of regional lymph nodes, and the last point is signs and symptoms of toxemia. In developed countries, diphtheria is a rare disease owing to routine children vaccination, and it does not pose a public health problem in those developed countries where comprehensive and satisfactory vaccination schemes have been instituted. However, still this disease is occasionally seen among non-immunized children in developed countries. In developing countries, unfortunately, the disease continues to be endemic. Endemic means the constant presence of a disease in the given community due to lack of adequate widespread immunization. The true number of the diphtheria cases and deaths, they are unfortunately unknown because of the incomplete reporting from most countries where this disease occurs. Dear students, now we will discuss the epidemiological determinants of diphtheria. So first of all, we will discuss the agent factors. Agent, Corynebacterium diphtheria. It's a bacterial disease. It is a gram-positive non-motile organism. It has no invasive power, but it produces a powerful exotoxin. There are four different types of diphtheria bacilli. They have been recognized, and all of them they are pathogenic to man. Diphtheria bacilli, they are basically sensitive to penicillin and they are readily killed by heat and chemical agents. However, they survive for only short periods of time in dust and fomites. Now, the source of infection. The source of infection may be a case or a carrier. So first case. Cases range from subclinical cases to clinical cases. Mild or silent infections, they just exhibit mere a runny nose or sore throat. But these play a more important role than the clinical cases in spreading the infection. Now the carriers. Carriers, they are an important source of infection. There are many different types of carriers in case of Corynebacterium diphtheria. Carriers may be temporary or chronic. There may be nasal carrier or throat carrier. The temporary carrier may last for about a month, लेकिन but the chronic carrier state may persist for a year or so until or unless the patient is treated. And remember, immunization does not prevent the carrier state. There are a number of infective materials from which the disease can be transmitted. These infective materials include nasopharyngeal secretions, discharges from the skin lesions, contaminated fomites, and possibly infected dust. Period of communicability varies. It varies from 14 to 28 days from the onset of disease, but carriers they may remain infective for much longer periods of time. A case or a carrier they may be considered non-communicable when there are at least two cultures which are obtained properly from the nose and throat 24 hours apart and they are negative for diphtheria bacilli. So the two cultures when taken 24 hours apart they should be negative in order to label a case or carrier as non-communicable. Dear students, now we will discuss the host factors of diphtheria disease. First is age. Diphtheria particularly affects the children aged 1 to 5 years, but in countries where widespread immunization is practiced, especially in developed countries, there is a shift in age incidence and it has been more in school age group compared to preschool age group of children. Sex. Both sexes they are equally affected. No sex predilection. Immunity. Infants which are born of immune mothers, they are relatively immune during the first few weeks or months of life. And it has been shown that a herd immunity of 70% is necessary in order to prevent the epidemic spread in the community. After discussing the host factors, now we will discuss the environmental factors. Cases of diphtheria they occur basically in all seasons, but still more cases occur during the winter months, and the reason most probably being the overcrowding in the winters. Mode of transmission. This disease is spread mainly by droplet infection, although it can also be transmitted directly to susceptible persons from infected cutaneous lesions. Transmission by different objects, for example, cups, toys, contaminated by nasopharyngeal secretions of the patient is possible, but it is only for short periods of time. Portal of entry. This disease got two portal of entry. One is respiratory route and the second is non-respiratory route. Commonly the portal of entry is the respiratory route. However, the portal of entry sometimes may be the skin where wounds, cuts and ulcers are present. The incubation period of this disease is generally 2 to 6 days, but occasionally it may be longer. Dear students, now we will discuss the clinical features of diphtheria. The respiratory tract forms of diphtheria consist of pharyngotonsillar, laryngotracheal, nasal, and different combination forms. Pharyngotonsillar diphtheria, in it the patients they usually have sore throat, difficulty in breathing, and low-grade fever. Examination of the throat shows mild erythema, localized exudate, or a pseudomembrane. This membrane may be localized or it may cover the entire tonsil, but patients with a severe disease they have marked edema of the submandibular area and the anterior portion of the neck. This edema of the submandibular area and the anterior portion of the neck it gives a characteristic appearance of the neck which is known as bull-necked appearance, and it is also accompanied by lymphadenopathy. Now we will move to second form, that is laryngotracheal form. Laryngotracheal diphtheria most often is preceded by the pharyngotonsillar disease. It is usually associated with fever, hoarseness, and croupy cough. Dyspnea soon follows because of the obstruction which is caused by the membrane, and this obstruction causes suffocation, and sometimes intubation or tracheostomy is necessary in order to relieve the dyspnea of the patient. Dear students, these two pictures on this slide show you how a bull neck looks like. You can see on the left hand side a picture of a 10-year-old boy with severe diphtheria. He is having a characteristic appearance of a bull neck because of the edema of the anterior portion of the neck. And on the left hand side there is a picture of a girl which is also having a same characteristics appearance of the neck known as bull neck. Dear students, the picture below is showing you the typical appearance of a pseudomembrane. It is generally white in color and it may wipe off easily initially, but once this membrane extends to become thick and adherent, then attempts to remove this membrane may result in bleeding. This is another picture showing you the pseudomembrane which is causing obstruction. The third form is nasal diphtheria. Nasal diphtheria is the mildest form of respiratory diarrhea and mostly it is localized to the septum or the turbinates of only one side of the nose. But occasionally a membrane may be present and it may extend into the pharynx. Dear students, we have discussed the respiratory forms of diphtheria. There are also the non-respiratory forms of diphtheria. This picture is showing you the cutaneous diphtheria. On the left hand side, you are seeing an ulcer which is surrounded by erythema. Generally, the patients presenting with the cutaneous diphtheria, they have already existing skin abrasion or a skin infection. Now we will discuss the control of diphtheria. In case of cases and carriers, the control of diphtheria includes measures of early detection, isolation, and treatment. Early detection. An active search for the cases and carriers should be started immediately. Carriers can only be detected by the culture method and swabs should be taken from both the nose and the throat and they should be examined by culture methods for diphtheria bacilli. Isolation. All cases, suspected cases and carriers, they should be isolated for at least 14 days or until they are proved free of infection. How can you prove them free of infection? At least 2 consecutive nose and throat swabs they should be taken and they should be taken 24 hours apart and they should be negative before terminating the isolation. Dear students, now the third measure for the control of diphtheria in case of cases and carriers is treatment. Treatment of cases includes diphtheria antitoxin. Diphtheria antitoxin in case of suspected cases of diphtheria should be given immediately without any delay either intramuscularly or intravenously in doses ranging from 20,000 to 100,000 international units or more depending upon the severity of the case. But before that, you need to do a preliminary test dose of 0.2 ml subcutaneously to detect the sensitization to horse serum. After that, Every case should be treated with penicillin or erythromycin for 5 to 6 days to clear the throat of Corynebacterium diphtheria. And in case of carriers, the treatment includes 10-day course of oral erythromycin. Contexts. Contexts merit special attention. Different situations pose different options. Following are the three different scenarios. Scenario 1, where the primary immunization or the booster dose was received within the previous 2 years, then in that case, no further action would be needed. Scenario 2, where the primary course or the booster dose of diphtheria toxoid was received more than 2 years ago, then only a booster dose of diphtheria toxoid needs to be given to the contact. And scenario C, or the last scenario, in case a contact was never immunized, in that case the new non-immunized close contact should receive prophylactic penicillin or erythromycin. They should be given 1000 to 2000 units of diphtheria antitoxin and of course actively immunization against the diphtheria. Dear students, in order to control the diphtheria in community, the only effective control is by active immunization with diphtheria toxoid of all the infants as early in life as possible, and then with subsequent boosters every 10 years thereafter. In EPI schedule, vaccination for diphtheria is given in the form of pentavalent vaccination at age of 6, 10 and 14 weeks. Immunization rate against the diphtheria must be maintained at a high level. The current prophylactics available for diphtheria immunization, they may be grouped as below. A. Combined or mixed vaccines. B. Single vaccines. C. Anti-sera. A. Combined or mixed vaccines include lot of different combination of vaccines. These may be DPT, that is diphtheria pertussis tetanus vaccine, DTPW, that is diphtheria tetanus whole cell pertussis, DTPA, diphtheria tetanus acellular pertussis, DT, diphtheria tetanus toxoid, DT, diphtheria tetanus adult type. Then B single vaccines, FT is the formal toxoid, APT, alum precipitated toxoid. Then there are few other forms which include PTAP, purified toxoid, aluminium phosphate, then PTAH, purified toxoid, aluminium hydroxide, TAF, toxoid, antitoxin, flocculus, and then C, anti-sera, diphtheria antitoxin. In case of combined or mixed vaccines, World Health Organization recommends that only the adjuvant DPT preparations should be utilized in immunization programs. This vaccine should be stored in the refrigerator between 2 to 8 centigrade. This vaccine can be safely and effectively administered as early as 6 weeks after birth, and the 3 doses of DPT each 0.5 ml should be considered for primary immunization. The interval, the current recommendation is to allow an interval of 4 weeks between the 3 doses with a booster injection which can be given at 1.5 year to 2 years, and it is followed by another booster of only DT at the age of 5 to 6 years. All the vaccines which are containing the mineral or the adjuvant should be injected deep intramuscularly. Children under the age of 1 year, DPT vaccine should be administered in the lateral aspect of the thigh. Fever and mild local reactions, they are common following the DPT vaccination. But there are certain contraindications against this vaccination. Children who are seriously ill, severe reaction has occurred after a previous dose. These reactions include collapse of shock-like state, persistent screaming episodes, temperature above 40 centigrade, convulsions, neurological symptoms, and anaphylactic reactions. In case of DPT, in case of DPT, subsequent immunization with DT only is recommended without the pertussis component. Combination or the mixed vaccines, they are the most commonly used vaccines for the control of diphtheria. Single vaccines, they are less frequently used, although they are all quite good immunizing agents. Now, the anti-sera. Diphtheria antitoxin is prepared in the horse serum, is the mainstay of passive prophylaxis and also for the treatment of diphtheria. This concludes our today's lecture. Thank you.